All right, so this video is going to segue in from a topic I posed to you guys at the end of my last video, which was, do you think Fred Kerley will win the men's 100-meter dash at the Prefontaine Classic, which is coming up this Saturday from Hayward Field? And, there was a little bit of mixed responses there, but we're going to revisit this topic today because it's a lot more timely with the meet right around the corner. And this is going to be essentially the first of 5 preview videos of the Prefontaine Classic, and I'm going to do my darndest to avoid the preview pun. I'll just leave that to the all caps in the title. I'll let you guys enjoy that and ridicule me for my dad joke. But enough about that. Let's take a look at this lineup. We've got 9 athletes all coming in with world-class experience and very impressive PBs to their names. Only one of them has not gone sub-10 in his career, and that's 18-year-old Erriyon Knighton. And aside from Knighton, we're going to be seeing Marvin Bracy, Noah Lyles, Bednarek, Ronnie Baker. That's 5. There's still Fred Kerley, Degrasse, Marcell Jacobs, and finally Christian Coleman. I believe I named everybody on the list, but again, that list right there shows you just the immense quality that'll be competing at Hayward this Saturday. So what I'm going to be doing here with this list is attempting to construct our little Prefontaine podium, and I'll be doing that throughout the course of this week in future videos, but how I'm going to try and do this to the best of my ability is with a little process of elimination. So, like I said, Erriyon Knighton is the only non-sub-10 competitor here thus far. That could very well change on Saturday, given what we've already seen from him this year. 19.49 at the 200, the world-leading time for the 18-year-old superstar. And I can tell you right now, he is not going to be my first cut. My first cut, as hard as this is for me to make, it's going to have to be Ronnie Baker, because when you look at his season, he has yet to run a 100 meters, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's run a lot of 60 meters indoors, but he didn't go sub 6.5, which in comparison to guys like Bracy, Jacobs, and Coleman, who all ran in the low 6.4s in the indoor season. So, unfortunately, Ronnie Baker is going to have to come off this list, as unfortunate as it is for me to say about the man who came in 5th in Tokyo. So, Baker's off the list. I've also got to take off Bednarek because he has not gone sub 10.1 this season, and I doubt that these are going to be favorable conditions for him, and we'll get to that later. He ran a 400 meters at 45.34, which was second to Michael Cherry. I think he came second. But either way, the 200 is more of his bread and butter, like another guy who I'm about to cross off, which is Degrasse. This one might be the most contentious crossing off thus far, because obviously he's the reigning bronze medalist at 100 and the reigning gold medalist at 200 in the Olympics. But as we also know, Degrasse is almost invisible for the first half of the season, so a loss here or a disappointing finish isn't going to matter when it comes down to championships. So, Degrasse, Ronnie Baker, and Bednarek are off the list. That leaves us with Fred Kerley, Marcell Jacobs, Noah Lyles, Erriyon Knighton, Marvin Bracy, and I believe Christian Coleman, who I haven't mentioned yet. But I'm going to keep Coleman on this list. This is where things are going to start to get tricky, so thank you guys for bearing with me. The next cut I'm going to have to make is Noah Lyles. That's right. Noah Lyles has not gone sub-10 legally this season either. I mean, that's, it's still early in the season, so it's hard to necessarily use that as a universal criterion. But, again, you look at Marvin Bracy, a guy who often has the capacity to surprise. I see him as a lock for 5th place. So he's going to be my next cut. But Noah Lyles, again, just like Degrasse and Bednarek, the 200 is more of his event. And for him, it's more about just trying to solidify that start. Because, that's really the weak point of Noah Lyles' sprinting game, is the start. And so far, he's really yet to prove this season besides his wind illegal 19.72, which he ran in Doha against Fred Kerley, a guy who we've yet to get to. That's probably the lone real indicator that his start could be improving. So Noah Lyles is going to be my 6th place. I'm crossing these guys off not necessarily in order, but Noah Lyles is off the list and Marvin Bracy off the list as well, because this is kind of the point where you get to that crossroads where you see, okay, we've got Marcell Jacobs, Olympic champion, Fred Kerley, Olympic silver medalist, Christian Coleman, world champion, and Erriyon Knighton, one of the top 5 all-time over 200 meters, and you get Marvin Bracy, who, is kind of the odd man out here. He had an impressive 6.44 to come in 3rd behind Jacobs and Coleman in the indoor 60-meter dash, but there's, really nothing that tells me that this is going to be his surprise sub-10 performance, because he had a couple of those last year. His personal best is 9.85, and he ran that twice over the span of the 2021 season. But again, there's really no inkling that this is going to be his day. So Marvin Bracy is off the list, which leaves us with Christian Coleman, Marcell Jacobs, Fred Kerley, and Erriyon Knighton. Boy, I'm going to be honest, guys, I didn't think this one through. So I'm just going to be throwing dartboards at a wall here, but given the way that things are going, I am going to make a bold move, and I am going to disgrace my Italian heritage and cross Marcell Jacobs off the list. Take a deep breath. Marcell Jacobs has also, like Lyles, not had a sub-10 legal clocking this year. He had a 9.95 or 9.99, one of those two, and it was just barely over the legal wind limit. But just going off of what I've seen this season, I can't get rid of Erriyon Knighton here. I just can't, because that 19.49, he got off to a rocket start, and he maintained that speed through the finish. He's got all the strength and all the capacity, in my mind, to take things to a very unprecedented level this season. And again, like Degrasse, this is the point that I want to drive home here. I really should have gotten to this earlier in the video, and this is probably one of the longest videos I've made in a long time. So again, thank you guys for bearing with me. But we are looking at this as a Prefontaine Classic and not a World Championship final, though this field has very much the makings of comprising the 2022 World Championship final, minus, a couple substitutions. Maybe Trayvon Bromell will be on that list, and a couple other names like Ferdinando Manyala from Kenya and the like. But we're looking at this as a Diamond League Prefontaine Classic meet that has all the billings to represent your World Championship meet. We're not looking at it as the end-all, be-all World Championship meet. And so for Marcell Jacobs to have a 4th place finish here would by no means tell us that he cannot pull off a podium position at Hayward Field this July. So Marcell is off, and I'm going to say this right now. Erriyon Knighton is going to come in 3rd in this race behind, we got ahead of Knighton, it's going to be Kerley and Coleman. And I'm going to say that Christian Coleman's run 19.92 over 200, so he's got plenty of strength to go by this season. That time was run at the Tom Jones Invitational, I believe, in Florida by Coleman. But Fred Kerley, he's gone into the 19.8 territory and also had 2 sub-10 clockings over the 100. In fact, he has yet to clock a time in the 100 of over 10 seconds. So this is what makes this decision so tough as to who is going to be your gold medalist in the Prefontaine Classic. We all know these Diamond League cash incentives are very substantial, and I'm going to say it. Fred Kerley is going to win the Prefontaine Classic in the men's 100 meters over Christian Coleman, Erriyon Knighton, and the rest of this star-studded field. I think overall it's going to be a very, very close race between the 9 of them, but Fred Kerley has been preparing all season long for this. He seems to treat every race like a new phase. I mentioned that in my previous video as well, and you guys can get at me, please. I encourage you to, in the comments section, tell me that I'm on the Kerley bandwagon. I want to interact with you guys. This is the very purpose of this video, to stir the pot within the last few days of the event. But again, Coleman, I think this is really the first time we're going to see him in a while against a star-studded field. And Fred Kerley's been competing against the world at the shorter sprints for the better half of these past 2 seasons. So I think Fred Kerley is going to pull it out. Don't count me on that, but I'm putting it in. I'm putting it in as my prediction. You heard it here first. Kerley, Coleman, and Knighton are your top 3 for Prefontaine. Now, an important clarifier before we get to times, which I don't want to spend too much time on, no pun intended, but the conditions for this Saturday's meet are not going to be ideal. So it's very likely that we won't see a sub-10 clocking to win the Diamond League title here. But then again, we got, 60 degrees as a high, 61, and 60% chance of rain, and a forecasted headwind. Those are not ideal sprinting conditions. So as I said just a few minutes ago, before determining the podium in my mind, that this is just another meet, really, not a world championship meet. Not that it's just another meet, but the point is that this is not the world championship meet, as before I repeat myself for the 5th gosh darn time. So if you see a time that you maybe were expecting a little bit lower to win the meet, regardless of who wins, I wouldn't act as though that was really a surprise if the conditions don't change in the forecast. But anyways, let me know what you guys think down below. This is the longest track video officially that I have made thus far on this channel, and I look to hopefully continue pumping out some of this more long-form podcast-type content. I haven't quite decided on whether or not I want to do a podcast. I know I've thrown it out there in the past, but I like this little mini-series, and I enjoyed starting it with the 100 because it's an event that, just like a lot of the short sprints, including the 400, which is the longer sprint, is always a conversation and will always continue to be a conversation. So before I ramble on any longer, I want to thank you guys for making it this far. Like if you enjoyed, comment if you have any thoughts, if you disagree with my predictions or have any other insight to provide. That is encouraged. Subscribe for more, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.